Well, an unexpected announcement popped up in my inbox last week, with Channel 7 announcing broadcaster Matt White would be returning to the network. The release states White will front Seven's expanded NRL coverage in 2026, serving as a key 7 News sport presenter, delivering authoritative analysis on the latest NRL news across bulletins nationwide each night. Well, I've worked with Matt on and off over the past 2 decades, and I thought it would be worth getting him on to pay a visit to McKnight Tonight so we can find out exactly what he'll be up to. Matthew White, welcome to McKnight
Ah,
Tonight.
hello, Rob. Isn't it great to speak to you, mate? We go a long way back. I think it's time for you to come back to Channel 7 too and take control of the promos like you did way back when I first joined 7 in 2004. Is the weather getting cooler? Ah, Snooler. That was you. That was you.
That is true. Okay, I was going to hold this one for later, but I
No.
actually have the promo we made
Oh,
together
no.
when you first came to Channel 7.
Oh,
Okay,
my God.
you first came, and of course, with all these things, it's usually the promo producer who gets to meet the new talent first before all the other people at the network because we've got to make the promo. And I think you may have still been working at 10. I can't remember, but I remember we didn't
Yeah.
get much time with you. We got a day with you in the city, and this is what we made.
Just like the rest of Sydney, Matthew White has made the switch to 7 News.
He's young, he's dynamic, he enjoys tremendous respect.
7 already do a fantastic job covering sport. If I can just add to that team, then I'll be really happy.
The new face of 7 Sport is Matthew White.
Matt's going to be a real asset.
I think Sydney needs a different look at sport.
Join the rest of Sydney and make the switch to 7 News with Ian Ross, Nuala Hafner, and on Monday, Matthew White.
Look at that fresh-faced young man.
Wow. Wow. That was at Hyde Park, Rob. Do you remember that? And you're right, I was still, I guess I can say it now, I was still working. I was still employed at Channel 10 at the time because I literally had a walk out of 10, walk into 7 sort of crossover moment. And to be honest, 10 were really good about the way that it sort of finished there. They were very good about that. But I remember that day because we had a live eye truck at Hyde Park as like a background, and I did about 3 wardrobe changes in that live eye
Yes.
truck, sort of getting a suit off and then getting the casual look. So you had me sitting by the tree there with the pigeons, and that was it. Yeah, it was a really strange day, but you know what that brings back for me in particular, and I know I started with the Nuala jingle, the Nuala Hafner jingle, which was just awesome, but seeing Roscoe's face there,
Yeah.
it really strikes me because it plays an important part in what I'm doing next and how I'm going about this return to Channel 7. Because Roscoe at that time was doing exactly the same at a different level, but he'd been off TV, he'd been out of media for some years. He was sitting up on the Gold Coast and he was having a wonderful life. And David Leckie brought him back, and then Leckie approached me to come to 7, and that was the start of the new news era out of Martin Place. But seeing Roscoe there, and I miss him so much.
Yeah.
And he is a huge part, mate, of the inspiration of me returning to 7 and how I want to go about it.
Well, I want to get to that in a moment. One of the other little things about that promo is it was shot before the Martin Place newsroom had even opened, and there's a shot in there where you're outside it, and they've got all the banners up, and they hadn't actually moved in. Now you're returning to the newsroom, but it's a different newsroom in a different location because now Martin Place is closed down. This is how much time has spanned between that promo and now. You're returning to the 7 newsroom, but it's at Everleigh, about 15, 20 minutes away from Martin Place by car. What's it been like getting the call? A lot of people are being made redundant now. You're actually getting the call up, so that must be nice.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, that whole part of it. I mean, the media and the game that we play is so cyclical, right? And there's no doubt about it that it's been tough, and I've been in the middle of that. I've been made redundant. I've been searching for work. I've been doing other things. I've been in other parts of the media, and I continue to do other other professional lives, so to speak. So the media gain that you and I are talking about back in 2004 is very, very different to 2025. Very, very different. The whole landscape has completely changed, some for the better, some for the more challenging, some for the worse. And I think no matter what stage you're stepping in or out of your media role, especially when you're on air, there's going to be times where people are being made redundant and people are
Mm.
being hired. There's going to be times when certain parts of the industry are flying and certain parts aren't. That's just the game that we live in. You know, it's a creative world, and creative worlds don't operate in a straight line. If they did, we'd all be jumping on the train. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, but I do think also that um, part of the reason, mate, why I was attracted to this role and going back into the newsroom and back into Seven Sport, and I've been constantly in the media, so it's not like I'm stepping back into the media
Mm.
world, is that the location doesn't really matter. It did for Martin Place. There was a genuine need for Seven at that time to get away from Epping, to have a new look, new feel, new face, new culture.
Visibility.
Visibility is a good one, yeah. And I remember having the chat initially with David Leckie, where the one thing that he wanted to hold on to when we were talking about me leaving Channel 10 and going to that position that we just showed was he wouldn't tell me about Martin Place.
Oh,
Right? He didn't tell me about Martin Place until the very end. And eventually he said to me, he told me about Roscoe. He told me about Martin Place. He told me that we were moving out of Epping. He told me that he wanted to change the culture of the place. And, you know, he rattled off all these things in Lecky style where you got to try and grab them all. And then he said, and you know what, we're going to have fun doing it. And I said to
Mm.
him, you had me at fun. And I feel that there's that going on at the moment too at Seven. I don't like, Rob, hearing when you bump into people, whether it's 7, 9, 10, or in between. I don't like hearing colleagues and people that I know say, "Oh, mate, it's so hard in here at the moment. You know, money's tight, we're losing our," all that stuff. I don't like hearing that about our
Yeah.
industry. What I like hearing is, okay, now we're going to go and have a crack to try and make this better and reintroduce that energy and fun.
Absolutely. So, what exactly will you be doing at Seven?
No idea. It's-
Fair enough.
I'm hoping your promo will tell me. No, look, the role is a cross-platform role, and it will go across both Seven News and Seven Sport. Seven News in Sydney, in particular, will be my go-to destination every day. When I get back at the end of the week, for the first 3 weeks, Mel McLaughlin's taking some annual leave. She's been working like an absolute Trojan across the
Yeah.
summer, so my arrival date is kind of perfect for that. So I'll be back at the news desk reading the 6 o'clock sport
And is it this
for the
Sunday
first 3
you're
weeks.
back at the news desk?
Yeah, this Sunday. So for the first few weeks, we'll be doing that. And by then, footy season, NRL season will start to kick in. So there's a need and a desire from Seven News, and this is where the discussion started in Sydney in particular, to really expand that NRL content. And my role at SEN as the morning show host in Sydney SEN Radio for the last 5 years, mate, it's 90% rugby league. I mean, rugby league is airborne at the moment in terms of penetration, engagement, discussion. You know, the old water cooler discussion topic that we used to say for ages, that lives and breathes in the wintertime in the NRL. Plus, we've got the Rugby League World Cup at the end of the season, so I'll be heavily involved in the hosting of that. And there's also more programming content to come that will also play a part in. So you can see it's a bit of a wide spectrum in terms of
I
where
love
I'll
that.
be positioned. Yeah.
Well, it seems to me, judging by the press release, Seven talking about supercharging its NRL coverage, I assume that means the network is going to make a big play for some of the rights, specifically State of Origin and possibly the grand final. Peter V'landys has openly said that they're open to splitting the rights. Seven have wanted that for years. So it seems to mean Seven are going to go in hard on State of Origin at very least, if not State of Origin and the grand final and the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what the executive management team are thinking, but I would suggest that given the position that we're in, we're one of 3 free-to-air commercial broadcasters, and sport plays a massive role in what Seven does and does very well. If it's not on the table, then they're not playing the game. It is absolutely going to be on the table. The question will be for me, and this is not speaking as a Channel 7 employee, this is speaking as somebody with 30 odd years experience and who lives and breathes this stuff analytically and professionally, is the interesting part for me is really going to be where the NRL lands with all of this. That's the side for me, Rob, because the NRL's got the opportunity. You've mentioned State of Origin and grand final. But the way that the media landscape has changed and the way that sports broadcasting has changed around the world is, why wouldn't the NRL perhaps pick out a Thursday night? What about one game here and one game there? A lot of sports rights, especially in Australia, are quite often just rolled over. Let's keep the same free-to-air broadcaster and the same subscription platform because it works, and it does work. I mean, Nine and Fox do an amazing job with their rugby league coverage, but that doesn't mean to say that there can't be other players in there. And Seven will hopefully be one of those players. Amazon might be one of those players.
Yeah.
Apple might be. God knows what's going to happen. So I think the real key to that question is, sure, that they'll be at the table. They'd be mad not to. But what does the table look like? What's going to be on the table when the NRL decides which way they're going to go?
Yeah, that's very, very true. Mate, we know you're a sport fanatic, you're a sports broadcaster, but you're also an all-rounder. People would forget, you were actually the host of Today Tonight, very successfully, I might add. You fronted breaking news coverage for me at Studio 10. What is your favourite part of broadcasting?
Gee, I'm looking at that. Holy cow, that's a while ago.
That was your final episode of Today Tonight, that last close-up? Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. That's interesting. I do remember I had a few beers at lunch. That's the only time that I had like 2 or 3 beers, because I actually didn't think I was going to do that show that night. And then Craig McPherson said to me, we were having some lunch, and he said, "You know what, mate, just go and do it." I went, "Oh, okay."
Well, they weren't going to let you do your final episode.
No, absolutely. They were. Yeah. I didn't know whether I was sort of up for it.
Gotcha.
To be honest, it was a heck of a day, that one. So, but I'm glad I did. Look, I think, sports where I'm at, but when you go through, whether it's Today Tonight, hosting a royal wedding, an Olympics, Commonwealth Games, Formula One, commentary, Bathurst, news, Sunrise, studio, all that stuff, the project I've done it when I'm in my time at Channel 10.
Yeah.
There's one key component that goes through all of those, and it's live TV. And that's the part that attracts me to what I do and how I do it, because that comes with a performance aspect, but it also comes with the other stuff that I like, which is a whole heap of foundation building throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, right? So research and piecing together scripts and writing things, and then being on your toes and having to drag out information from the back of your head when a car crashes into the corner at turn 1 in a Formula One, so all of those things to me are different challenges, but there's one seamless link throughout the middle, which is live TV. And that old saying, when that light goes on, it's a totally different rush. And I've missed it. I've missed it, Rob. I can tell you that much, so I'm looking forward to getting back into it. Having said that, radio, talkback radio, I was doing 600 hours of live talkback radio.
There is something about radio that I only discovered only a few years ago. I've produced and presented on radio. There's something magic about that.
Yeah, there's something. Magic's a good word, because that's kind of the way that it, there's a structure to TV for many reasons, and there are plenty of layers. We've got some here right now, right? Think of what we're doing here. There's layers which involve a camera, which involve your studio, which involve, audio.
My wife over there switching the whole thing.
Your wife, the drinks that have to be delivered on a Thursday night, for all that stuff.
The
Whereas
tipsy
radio's,
Thursday, absolutely.
cheers with the water.
Yeah.
Radio's got this magic about it because you put your headphones on, you switch on the microphone, and bang, it happens. And talkback radio's that on steroids, and there's no filter. One of the things that you'd appreciate is that when you go from, and I've done plenty of radio in my career, but when I went into the talkback radio side, you go from being, when you're a TV presenter, you go from delivering news and information and entertainment and all that stuff, and being a traffic cop, making sure that you get to the breaks and all that. When you go into radio and talkback radio, sport, which is so passionate, it's a two-way conversation that's completely unfiltered. And that two-way conversation is something you've got to get used to. Imagine getting 1 million texts a day on anything that you start talking about, and then people ringing up and going at you straight away. That doesn't happen in the TV side, and it can be quite confronting because in radio you kind of have to put yourself out there a bit.
Absolutely, and it's unfiltered.
You've got to wait for it to come back. So
I mean, we get that here a bit on McKnight Tonight because we have feedback coming in that we do live and we react to what's going on, and a lot of it's good, but sometimes people will pull me up that I've done a crap interview or something like this. You just mentioned a whole range of things you've done on live TV, but you haven't mentioned one of my favourite things you ever did, which I was the producer of, and that, of course, was the Nightcap. This was the very first show made specifically for digital television in Australia. People can't see your hands in your face at the moment.
God.
It was called The Nightcap. I was producing it. We didn't get to make a lot of episodes, but boy, it was fun, wasn't it?
It was awesome. It was really different. I haven't seen that since we've done it.
Roll the footage again, Amanda. Don't worry.
What year was this? I'm terrible with years.
Oh, it was either 2007, I think.
Okay. There's our man, Paul Murray, absolute lunatic. And Jess, of course, I've known for a long, long time. We were trying something different there. I think that was the key to it. And there's the shock. Monique's laughing.
This was the precursor to Studio 10, to be honest.
Yeah, it was, I guess. And I remember, we used to just walk into the studio down there at Martin Place, and we would do it before, correct me if I'm wrong, we'd do it before the late news would roll. And I remember there was a couple of times there we were goofing off like crazy and playing guitars and all, thinking that we were David Letterman, and poor old Barthy was waiting to do a news update, and it was like,
I remember that specific incident. I think it was you and I and maybe a few people just on the set, and she's literally waiting off set. No one said to us, we need to record an update. And we're like, of course we'll get off the set, because that set that you were on was actually the news set with all these pieces put over it. And even that background, this is the brilliance of television. That was a pre-recorded background, but we lit it up in the city. We actually paid for big lights to light up those back buildings and everything like that. So that back building over your head is actually lit by one of our lights that we went and placed on top of a building to do that. That was the fun stuff you could do back then. But it was so much fun to do that show. And I said it was a precursor to Studio 10, but it even included you doing a prank out on the plaza. The setup for this was simple. You were pretending to be doing a live cross. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh, yes. No, I do.
You were pretending to do a live cross to the US, and the Prime Minister hadn't turned up. So you were asking passerbys to pretend to be the PM. And look, I was just going to play a quick 20-second clip, but it's too good not to play the whole thing. So bear with me, and let's take a trip down memory lane.
Well, I've got to do something really important to CNN. Mate, I need your help. I'm just about to go on air back to America. We've got a bit of a problem. We're just about to go live to air to a station in America, but I think they're going to speak to the Prime Minister. The bloody Prime Minister hasn't turned up. All right. Mate, they won't know the difference. Really important. Yeah, we're ready to go. Mate, just hang there. That's right. I've been lucky enough to be joined by the Prime Minister today. It's fantastic to have him here at such short notice. He's a very busy man. Prime Minister, thanks so much for your time.
No problems.
Say good day to our friends in America. Shep's on the line.
There you go, mate.
The Prime Minister has joined me today, and not only has he joined me, but he's got himself a nice umbrella. Prime Minister, thanks so much for your time. Jeez, it's coming down hard. This is good news for the drought, isn't it?
It sure is, mate. It might
What do I want to say?
Tell the American people what kind of country that you're going to bring us.
One of a kind.
What kind of differences are the main differences, if you like, between the American parliamentary system and the Australian parliamentary system?
Probably not a clue.
Have you got any idea how the Australian parliamentary system works?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be good. You got voted in, didn't you? Well, I know what the population of Australia is, and of course, if there's one person who's going to know, it's the Prime Minister. What are we up to now, Prime Minister?
A lot of stuff.
In people-wise, in terms of population.
I wouldn't have a clue at the moment.
Yeah. The Prime Minister's staff have given us the ceremonial robe that he uses in office. Where do you actually wear this around, Prime Minister? I mean, do you wear it around the office in private or just at home?
No, I wear it to bed.
Good on you. Just tell us about what the significance of the robes are.
I could tell you, but I wouldn't have a famous idea how to express it.
The Americans want to see your tribal dance.
Oh, no.
Can you give us a quick...
No.
No,
2007 or 8.
I don't know what goes on behind closed doors at the lodge there. You know what we say, Shep? Beauty, mate, she's a ripper. Good on you, back to you.
Oh.
Do you think we got away with it?
There's a big chance of possibly no.
Talk about being put on the spot, mate.
You have just been nightcapped. That wasn't for America, that was for the nightcap.
I thought it was something funny about that.
I'm voting for Craig.
I love that. You've been nightcap like that meant anything to anyone. We were on a digital channel. No one knew who we were.
I think I just made that saying up. I think that just came out. The classic part that gets me about that is how at the very start, before I do the cross, I do the old.
Yes,
like I'm waiting for the delay from CNN.
I don't know if you remember. I was in your ear pretending to be the American news anchor, so you had something to play off.
That's right. Oh.
What I love about that is we were asked to make this show for 7HD, and we were told the people watching 7HD were young men. That's how we had to aim the show, and we did. It was a very young male skewing show. Sky Leckie, you talked about David Leckie. Sky Leckie had digital TV because not many people had digital TV. She watched it and said, "This is crap." Shock horror, the nightcap did not appeal to a middle-aged, older woman when it was skewing towards young men. And we were cancelled.
How long did we last, Rob?
10 episodes.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh, they were a fun 10 episodes, though.
Yeah. It was awesome. And that's, if you can't do things like that throughout your career, then, you're on this sort of static line that just goes through. I've never been one of those people that just wants to get there and read the news for 30 years. I mean, some people can, I can't. And when things like that come to you, what's the worst that can happen? You go, sure, I'll give it a go. So many people, when I took over Today Tonight, which I didn't see coming, so many people, even my family, were like, "Oh, congratulations!" As though that's what it was like. And are you enjoying it? I know the answer, and I'd go, "Yeah, I am." And the reason why I did it was because it was going to challenge me, and it was going to be different, and that's, I guess that's the beauty of being able to do things like this, and then being able to do that crazy stuff and interviewing fake prime ministers out in Martin Place at the nightcap. That's where it's cool.
Well, mate, you are a true legend, and you are going to kick many goals at Channel 7. It's a no-brainer for them to get you back. I think it's brilliant. I've really enjoyed working with you over the past couple of decades, and it's a big cheers on a Tipsy Thursday to you, Matt White. Thanks for joining us on McKnight Tonight.
Straight back at you, mate. Thank you.
McKnight Tonight.